Well, folks, I'm back. Bob McVay's place. It is a beautiful sunny day here in Central Ohio, and it is time to start doing some head porting. For those of you who are new here, welcome to Automotive Adventures with Austin. Today, I am working on my 1969 Pontiac 62 casting cast iron heads. These are the set of heads that I'm going to be running on my 350 HO build, which we've been working on for a while, and it is finally time to be able to do my head porting. Now, before I get beginning on this stuff, let me preface this with saying I am not an expert when it comes to head porting. This is just going to be doing some cleanup work and trying to maximize what I have with these heads. I'm not going to get crazy. We're not going for maximum flow. This is not drag racy kind of stuff. I'm just cleaning these ports up so that they flow better, and I'm going to get a good amount of increase, but I'm going to get a much better set of heads. That's the only thing I'm really working on here. The motor is sitting right here. This is going to be about a 9.5 to 1 compression roller cam motor. It's got a set of big valve heads that we're putting on it, so they're already going to flow pretty well. I just want to maximize that flow without putting in a whole lot of work, because I can, believe me, I can totally screw these up if I decide to get a little too aggressive on my grinding, which I don't want to do. The 94 heads, which are the ones that are going on the other Pontiac 350, I'm basically going to leave these alone. I may do a little bit of cleanup on these just to be able to take off any ridges or anything that I find in there. But generally speaking, I'm going to leave those heads alone. What we're going to focus on, and what I'm going to basically spend the entire day today working on, is these 1969 62 casting Pontiac heads. And then, when we're done with it, I'm going to put them back on the flow bench, and we'll see what kind of gains we get. I'm going to be happy with if I see a 10% gain in flow over where we were. Generally speaking, our max flow at lift on this 62 head was in the neighborhood of about 210 to 215 at 600 lift and 500 lift. If I can get that to be maybe 220, 230, I would be super happy, because I don't think, honestly, that I'm going to need to utilize all of that flow for these Pontiac 350s. If it were a big displacement motor, I think I would see a lot more of a bottleneck there with that. Also, I am going to clean up the exhaust ports that are on these things. Exhaust ports on Pontiacs are quite tiny, and there's a whole lot of casting flash and stuff that's inside those exhaust housings where I know I can clean that up and get a lot of airflow out of them. So I am going to be focusing on the intakes today, but I am also going to clean up the exhaust. This is a probably all-day process. This is what you would also call free horsepower. Not really free, but I'm not paying somebody to do this. I'm going to be doing this myself. You could do it yourself with a grinder at home, whether it's a Dremel tool or an air-powered die grinder, whatever way you want to do it. But it's basically just, you're going to invest some time. You're going to clean up those bowls, clean up those ports, clean up the edges, clean up the ridges, make sure that everything flows nicely, and you're going to gain some horsepower. And you're really not going to spend anything beyond whatever your grinder and maybe your bits is going to be. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. If you're interested in watching this kind of thing, I'm going to be sitting over here with a portable air conditioning unit today. And Bob has a whole bunch of other stuff he's going to be working on. His 427 is sitting right here. He's working on that. And I don't know what else he's done. I think he's got some crank grinding he's going to be doing, and a bunch of other stuff. So Bob will be bouncing in and out of the video as it goes. But this is going to be largely me sitting over here in this corner, grinding. And grinding and grinding and grinding. And something I rarely do, I actually brought protection. Brand new fancy schmancy safety spectacles. Normally I'm not a protection kind of guy, but I'm really not in the mood to end up with some metal shavings in my eyes today. And they'll make me look serious, like I know what I'm doing. Don't let the glasses fool you. I'm an idiot. A little deck cutting here. So, I am going to kind of go ahead and do a little bit of port matching here as well. You can see we've got this die that's used. You've got an intake gasket on here with bolts, and you want to kind of line this thing up and try to take out any overlap here. This side looks pretty good, not a big deal here, but you can see that there's quite a lot of metal here where I can take this out and open this up and clean this port, because that'll affect the amount of air that you can get in here. Air in, air out. air pump. You've all heard that. It's just a matter of being able to get as much air in and out as efficiently as possible. Now you also would want to do this to the intake, or to the runners and the ports on the intake manifold itself, and what you would call gasket matching. Take the exact same gasket, bolt it up exactly the same way, and make sure that your ports are linear, because if you've got a port that comes in this way and then it runs into a step, it's going to disrupt that airflow and it's going to cut down your air. You can get real aggressive with these because it's a Pontiac. They don't have a real thick wall here. I'm not going to get totally crazy. I just want to take some of this out to increase my airflow here and smooth out those transitions. Short sides, we'll clean that up a little bit. Just about making this as smooth as possible. This is a time-intensive process. I will spend all day doing this just to get through this one head. I will spend all day on this, but if I can pick up 10 or 15 horsepower, yeah, I'll spend all day doing it. So, get the die grinder hooked up here. Little guy here, we're gonna do with a Christmas tree and start doing some dentistry. This is gonna take a while. You start to see the difference here as I'm taking the edge off here. The metal gets a whole lot smoother. This is kind of raw casting. You can see it's rough. It's really rough, and you can get a lot of cleanup just doing what I'm doing here. You can feel the texture difference. You'll also want to probably go back through this and clean this off with a sandpaper roll. But like there's a little bit of a ridge here on the transition on the short side. You can take that off, and then on the back side of this, there's more you can get to. The question is whether or not you can get to it this way, or if you've got to come at it from the other direction. There's kind of a mix-match process to do this. But you just want to go through here and smooth out as much as you possibly could. Again, I'm not trying to remove a whole lot of material. I'm just trying to make sure that these transitions are as clean as possible and there's as few interruptions in the airflow as I possibly can. I'm not looking for the craziest amount of porting here. This is just something that a normal person can do with an afternoon or a weekend in a set of heads. So I'm gonna put my earbuds in and I'm gonna get to work. I will see you guys in a little bit. Making progress. This one's gonna need a lot of work. See the making progress. Also, I will say, big beard, spinny, grindy thing, dangerous. Hump right there. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is you want to do essentially the same amount of work to every single port. You want these things to flow essentially the same, or as close as you possibly can. So don't get super crazy on one port and make it flow a whole lot better than the other ports. Then you're going to have kind of a mismatched power distribution, which is not the worst thing in the world, but not great. This port on the side here, I'm not going to be able to show you this, but up inside this guy, on this bend right here, is super rough, and it's got a catch right here that's really bad. So I'm trying to kind of smooth that out, but also not take off too much around that curve so I don't change the contour. And that's really the other thing you got to be careful with. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really screw this up. You're not trying to change the actual path and the contour of the porting. You're trying to clean it up and maximize the flow, but don't change it. There's smarter people than you and I that have designed most of this stuff. So unless you really know what you're doing, don't change the path. just smooth the path. On this one we can see there's a bridge here in the middle of all these ports. Right here. We want to get that all nice and smooth. And then this one we do have a considerable amount of metal we can take out of this divider piece to be able to make that good and be able to increase this flow. This port is considerably smaller than this port. I don't know if you can really tell that much difference, but so these are all good. This one is definitely the smallest, so we need to reshape that, take that metal out of there, and do quite a bit of work on this one in order to make this float as good as the other three. Also, the highest likelihood of me screwing this up. Getting better. Let's keep on going. Alrighty. That's pretty good. This one definitely needed a lot of work to get that one all cleaned up. Open that wall up quite a lot. It's not perfect, but pretty dang good. And we'll work on it from the other side. If this seems like a whole lot of work, it's because it is. Now I'm also going to clean up while I'm here all of this stuff, that casting flash, which doesn't gain me horsepower, but it will gain me oil flow back from the heads back down through the bottom end. This is just horrible. You can see there. So I'll clean up all that casting flash. Also, in a vanity thing, it will make the heads look nicer from the outside, as well as be able to hold paint better. When I do throw paint at it, it tends to hold better on a curved surface than it does on a knife edge type surface. So, all right, now we got to get into here, and we're going to do the under valve portion of this. Now I'm also going to touch up the exhaust side of this as well. You can see here quite a lot of exhaust work that needs to be done, but this is where we're going to get into the bowls and do some bowl work there. Again, err on the side of caution. Don't get too aggressive. Make it good, but you don't need to get overly aggressive on it. So just keep working on it. This air conditioning unit, by the way, clutch. One thing also to be careful of is the valve seat. This has already had a valve job done on this head. You can see this seat is fresh. This has already been cut. I don't want to damage that seat. If you want to, you can use some compound and set the valve down in and then just kind of like lap it around a little bit and see exactly where that seat is if yours don't have a fresh seat cut into them. And obviously you want to do everything you can to not touch any of that seat, whether it's with the burr or the barrel or anything whatsoever. Do not damage that seat, because otherwise your valve seal is not going to be sealing correctly. In this case, I got to be very careful because Bob just spent a bunch of time and my money cutting all of these valves and all these seats in. So I've got to be very careful with that kind of thing, but we just kind of want to get all the way up to where that seat is and then blend it in and leave it alone. Capiche? Sweet tea. Now here's an exact example of why you do this. Look at all those casting imperfections inside that. Absolutely atrocious. This is the exhaust side, but you can see like there's a lot to be removed there. This one actually not that bad. That exhaust port's not that bad. Clean it up, but yeah, yikes. Continues over here. Whew. Taking a short break. Let my hands start to work again. Got most of the intake on this head done. Gonna go ahead and start touching up some of the exhaust side of things. Same situation as far as exhaust gasket matching as you do with the intake matching. This is the exhaust side. You can see there's quite a bit of meat there that I could fix up. Obviously we don't want to take that piece out, but there's quite a lot of meat that can be cleaned up on these exhaust ports, as well as some pretty serious casting flash up through here. Hopefully you can see that right there. And there. And there. There's just a lot of cleaning that can be done there. There's definitely an argument to be made about where your most gain can come, and it's going to be really dependent on the heads that you're working on and the engine combination you're working on. Whether it's, you know, you're going to see more gain out of the intake or the exhaust side. If the intake already flows well enough, but the exhaust is choked down, you'll see more out of exhaust work than intake work. I'm not going to do a ton of work on the exhaust. I will clean this up just to be on the safe side. It'll gain a little bit, and overall it'll give me a little bit more power as well. We did not flow the exhaust side on the head flow bench because we don't have it calibrated for exhaust yet. So I don't really have an ability to compare apples to apples, but realistically speaking, anything I can do to be able to help get this gas out of this engine and down through the tailpipes, in this case headers, is better. So obviously I would also want to match this to the exhaust manifold or header, depending on what I'm doing, and match that same gasket up to the same set of header, that same flange, and make sure that they're, you know, again, that smooth transition. You don't want to come out of the head into a gasket or into a valve or into a flange for the exhaust. You want to keep that nice and slow. So I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup work in the exhaust, and then I'll go through and do some final touch-up on everything else, and then we'll call it quits on this head and move on to the next one. Fun, isn't it? Free horsepower. Alright, we're going to go ahead and describe a little bit of this on here to be able to make sure we've got our safe. You can see how much we got difference here. We're going to get as much exhaust out of this guy as we possibly can. So, we've got quite a bit we can take out of there. We'll just kind of clean the edges up on this. Same on this one. Take a bit off this one, clean up all the ridges. You can see probably down in there. Less than great. Less than great. It's alright, we'll make it great. Alright guys. Intake side is good. I'm very happy with how that turned out. Transitions are nice, smooth, nice walls. Short side's all nice and cleaned up here. I didn't get real crazy on them, but it is considerably smoother and there's no sharp edges. I would say that works for what I'm looking to do. I'm going to clean up these little bits and pieces a little bit to be able to get my drain back looking better. But that's just aesthetic stuff. Then we'll move on to the next head. So, how's my homework?
So what I usually notice that is your first picture. So if you take a picture like you're looking at it like this,
yep,
and see what you see at the valve, you know what I mean, like stick your thumb up it or whatever.
Yep.
And you take a picture and see how well you can see your thumb.
Okay.
And then, you know, you do the before and after, you know, like to me when I look at this, it looks like you helped it a lot.
I didn't screw up? Probably.
I think so.
What I didn't want to do is get too aggressive on this.
Yeah.
This is just basically a...
Well, and it's, what thing is you can put it on there and see.
Technically we can flow them, and then if we want more, we can get more aggressive on it.
Right.
Not that we probably need to, but...
No.
Okay. And then this is the set of 94s. This is the factory set of heads. These are the ones that are going to go on the 1970 350 as well. Ports wise, you can see these actually look pretty good compared to these guys. I don't know, maybe this casting just wasn't maybe as good, because it was really this port that was a considerable difference, whereas these seem to be pretty uniform. And might get a little tight here compared to that one. That one looks a little wider on the bottom. But, you know, these were cast in the, the late 60s, early 70s. Tolerances were not nearly what they were. They're mass-produced heads. They're cast iron. Who knows what they had for lunch that day? So there's a lot of imperfections that you're going to have between the two. There's a lot of differentiation between you're going to have, because these were mass produced, and they've also been through God only knows how many, iterations or how many heat cycles they've been through. So, they were never the best. You can always do something like this, and this is what old school hot rodding is all about, man. This is how guys found power way back in the day, before you could just go out and buy yourself a set of Eric Weingarten or Brodex Dragon Slayer heads. That wasn't a thing. You had to be in the garage with a die grinder, with whatever you had, finding horsepower however you could find it. It was just, that was traditional hot rodding. Kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do it this way is, it makes it feel like it's more old school hot rodding for me. So, one down. My air conditioning just shut off because my tank is full. Gotta fix that. Oh, yep. Fix that. Alrighty, fresh head. All it's got done on it's a valve job. Light work. About 2 hours aside. A little more than. So, not terrible. I might be able to finish this before the workday is done. Obviously, if I was getting a little more aggressive, this would take a lot longer. Don't rush your way through it. Just work on it. I'm not going to be able to flow test these heads on this video. I will be able to retest these things on the next video from up here with Bob. We broke the O-ring on his flow bench tube on the second to last cylinder we were testing on this thing. So it is what it is. I got to find a really large O-ring to be able to make that thing seal correctly, so we get our proper readings. Once I get that figured out, we'll be able to flow test these heads, and then get it moving forward. So there you go, guys. We'll wrap this up. You don't need to watch me do this more than once. That is me porting Pontiac heads by hand with a die grinder and some time. What do you think I'm going to gain percentage-wise out of these things? What do you think I'm going to flow CFM-wise on the intake side? I'll see if also I can get the exhaust side calibrated before we do this, so we can see exactly what the exhaust side is. I think the exhaust side is one of those things that a lot of people miss on. They don't really spend time on that side, and realistically speaking, yes, it's under pressure because it's coming out with cylinder pressure, but anything you can do there, you can probably also pick up some extra power, and it's a lot of things that people kind of skip. So we'll see. I don't know. We're not trying to go for record numbers on this thing. These are both pump gas motors, 9.5 to 1 compression. One's hydraulic roller, one's flat tappet, one's 480 lift, one's 510 lift. So they're not crazy camshafts, but should play a good tune. Should be some good performance. Should be fun power. Should make these big bad Pontiacs rolling down the street just fine. And I'm excited to get them together. But that's all we're going to do on this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This is Automotive Adventures with Austin, my little personal corner of the YouTube internets. If you enjoy this kind of thing, you can put up with me and my big bearded self. Lots of talking. It'd be great to see you again on another video. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. This episode's a special dedication to all my viewers that say, hey, you never get your hands dirty. Why don't you ever really work on cars? This one's for you.